American bars are the graveyards for boomers sent their own way. Welcome back to Here with Goldberg. Today I'm going to talk about, well, actually, let me do a quick diversion here. So I was taking some of my own advice and I said I'm going to apply to volunteer at this thrift shop because there's some attractive women there. And you have that dynamic of it takes care of the filtering, the vetting process, breaks the ice. It's a lot simpler. I mean, most people are meeting through the workplace realistically at this stage. So you put in the application, probably about a week or so later, this woman gets back to me and she says, well, you have to be at least 18 years old. Ah, quap, it's over. And you have to volunteer a minimum of 8 hours a month. And you have to have the COVID vaccine. I'm thinking, really, so now we're at the point where free labor, especially for men, unloading boxes, sorting stuff, you have to have the pincushion. That's astonishing. I mean, back in the day, it'd be like, hell yeah, we need volunteers, but they're still quite stringent. So, at every stage, it seems the same thing is happening. I feel like I'm Bond on the island, James Bond. Biden's already hit the button, so we know there's no question as to the outcome. But you guys are probably all a decade or so younger than myself, and so you still have a lot of hope, and you're like, Martin, we need soy. If we only had more soy. You have all the soy in the world. In other words, you guys have to step up. It's your responsibility to carry things forward. I'm just going to jump on the inflatable dinghy with the elves and go off into the other part of the universe. But let's get to the real point of the video, and that is bars in the United States. And, just go to the bar, bro. When I was in my early teens, I had this general perception or conception, almost in a mystical sense for some reason, that if people had cool lives, if they had stuff going on, you were one of those types. They seemed to get it, the cool kids. Then on the weekend, you were either at the club or you were at the bar. That's what you did. If you were a loser, you played video games or you were studying, just to make it pretty simple. Yeah, in hindsight, it's cringe, but just bear with me. As of late, I've frequented a number of these establishments. It's not my first time going, but just to get a sense of how things are. Post the shutdown, are people still out there? Are the memes you hear about true? And the first candidate was just down the street, the smaller place. So I walk in there. First of all, you're packed in like sardines, can barely move because there's so many people there. And it was easily 90+% male, which is a fairly regular theme. These institutions, they're sausage fests, which we'll get into that a little bit later on. But you're trying to yell over the din to talk to people and even get your drink. I say, what is the point? Why even be here? It seems like more of a you're supposed to be here, like because you've heard from various aspects or angles of culture telling you that's what you're supposed to do, but it's not necessarily enjoyable in any shape or form, unless you see crazy drunk people, which can be somewhat entertaining, unless their ire is directed at you, which that's happened before to me, but I won't go into the details. Then I went to this slightly larger joint, which has many positive reviews, and it was a Thursday night, so not as busy, and you might expect a counterbalancing towards superior customer service. Not a chance, my dear. You walk in, the Zoomer hostess is very rude, makes it clear that she doesn't care for you being there. Now, granted, I have a decent presentation. I don't dress like a slob. I make sure I wash before I go out, put on some tactical soap, and yet they just have no desire to be decent at their jobs. You sit down at the table and the surface has this very weird sensation to it. You're like, I'm not sure what was on there previously, and I don't truly want to find out. Waitress is a 5 out of 10 white chick, but heavily spackled and primed with makeup. She's got the fake tan, the bob hairstyle, a little gold, a little black, very greasy looking. And you try to make small talk with her, no tableside manner whatsoever. Just like, oh, you want that? Okay, does an about face, disappears, always like trying to get away from the table as soon as possible, which I know people are apathetic. I know it's our culture. But then I start going, should I even tip? Because I'm usually regularly 20% minimum when it comes to servers. But when these people just really make no effort and they don't have an excuse, it's not like they're slammed. She's just getting slammed by Chad and Tyrone, I imagine. Uh, you don't have a ton of business. You don't care. And I go, should I even bother? It's different if someone delivers you food through a car or they've got a great personality. Like there was this mestiza at an Italian restaurant. She really made an effort to talk. She was genuine, whether she was interested or not. She was genuine, not this condescension and dismissal, which a lot of these waitresses have nowadays for whatever reason. It's like they think they're entitled to certain amounts of income just because they went from the kitchen to your table and back. I'd like to say other stuff, but what can you do? A while later, I went into this. It was more of a billiard hall type setup. So you go through the front door, there's the pool tables on the one side, and this smaller section where you can sit down, eat, and there's a live music stage, right? As soon as I come through the door, you probably got 7 or 8 servers there just having conversations. They look at you and they go back to their dialogues. Absolutely no responsiveness whatsoever. And this is a problem I have because some years back, I went into a Panera, it was the same way. Probably about 7 people behind the counter doing absolutely jack squats. And I'm the type, I say, hey, how's it going? I don't wait to be greeted. I was like, can I get that? Wait a second. And she's just diddling on her phone, absolutely nothing related to the job. So I gave her maybe 30, 45 seconds. I was like, all right, can I get that? Just a second. I just turned around and walked out because I'm sorry, that degree of disregard when you are at some level, it's not their business, but still you have a job to do. You say, why? I'm paying decent money. Food is not cheap, you guys have noticed. And so why stay there if they're going to be just totally not care? So I go sit down in front of this stage. Of course, no one comes up, says, can we get you something? How's it going? Whatever. Meanwhile, you got this dude freestyling on the stage, some kind of karaoke, and it's like,
I'm the greatest white rapper in the world. Nah, 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 nah. Nah, 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 nah.
I was like, this is my own personal nightmare. So I just bounced, and I didn't feel bad, to be perfectly real. Now, maybe you say, oh, you're too sensitive. It's true. My ears, I am part Ferengi, as we all are aware, so maybe that's just my problem. But I don't know who really enjoys this. It's like when you go to a lot of parties and the music's blasting and you're trying to yell to have a conversation with a chick or whatever, and you say, is this enjoyable or is this just what we're told we're supposed to enjoy because it looks so great? And all of the TGIF songs, oh my God, it looks so amazing. Ever gone to a block party in college? Same way, blasting music, you're yelling, you literally trying to get people's attention, and it's so loud that no one can communicate except by doing ASL. Whatever, give me your thoughts on that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I went to this even larger bar that has rave reviews, and I think it was a great picture of what I've been discussing, not just in this video, but other places, how society is devolving in some sense or the other. You walk in, and there's no separation between the smoking, non-smoking, so it's like the smoke-filled rooms, ooh. But you got tons of boomers. Some of them with their pudgy wives, most of them just bald cells with beer bellies talking about, "Oh, back in the day, I could throw a mean pitch 120 miles per hour, but they wouldn't put me on the team because I'd embarrass everyone else." I'm like, yeah, sure, dude. But if they're having fun, I'm not going to judge them. You got the obligatory group of curry cells playing pool, no women there, of course. You proceed. You got the boomer band playing, which was actually pretty good. The only problem was that people were so loud until they truly got going. You couldn't hear the music. That's how terrible it was, to be honest. But I do like live music, especially if it's done by the right people, country, rock, whatever. That can be enjoyable. So that's a good thing about going out to bars. I will say that much. Anyways, I proceed to sit down, order some food, and in fairness to this waitress, she was actually on point. She was quick, she was attentive. Though she was not a Zoomer, she was middle-aged, so no surprise there. The fries were decent. I ended up getting a chicken sandwich, but when it's not cooked to being charred, but basically that dark brown, crispy shell that has no taste because it's been sitting there too long? Yeah. And with a tip, again, it's not cheap food. So you say, why am I here? I could do better making stuff at home, or I could just run down to Little Caesars and eat goy slop, and it would be about equivalent as far as the taste is concerned. Nevertheless, you're there for the experience, brah. It's about the experience, dude. But I'm noticing all these young guys. You have the boomers that are doing their cope, right? But you have all these young dudes, and you can tell who they're listening to. Tater Tot, Hamza Cookie Monster Eyes. They've got the fitted clothes, they got the skinny jeans, they're following the butt plug mindset, and they got the trim beard, and they're out there probably to run game. But what you see is a lot of dudes, a lot of other young dudes hanging out. You don't see the women, sad to say. I noticed there was one guy who probably would be classified as a Chad drone. He was with kind of similar to the waitress that I had at the other place, 5 out of 10, but plastered with makeup, right? And then there was this really tall 6'4", 6'5", oofy doofy Clarence with a fat chick as well. Maybe a handful of other couples, but that was pretty much the extent of the eligible female population. And you know that old trope you've probably heard of in some song or movie of the cute girl by herself at the bar. Someone just has to talk to her. She's waiting. I think that's just male fantasy projection. As though if that was the case, there wouldn't be 20 plus dudes simping all the same time. No, she's just waiting for you. What was that song some years back? Tuesday night, crowded bar. Some cuck lights a cheap cigar. Trans bouncer yells at him, so he walks out. You walk in. Lonely eyes looking at my wallet. Whoa. I mean, come on. It's just not something you see much of. Now, I will say, this was some years back at a college establishment. I saw what was probably a Filipina, and she was actually attractive by herself. The reason I say she was actually attractive, most Filipino women are not, to be perfectly honest, especially the ones that these trad bros or geomax, passport guys go over and get. They're not going for the Japanese or Chinese descent women. No, they're going for the Rodrigo Duterte looking chicks, and they think it's a flex on other dudes. I don't get that, but I'll never get that, to be honest with you. Regardless, she's there. She's obviously upset. She's throwing a tantrum, and I said, "Yeah, well, that might be a possibility. Let me give it a couple of minutes. This is just getting a lay of the land because you would be surprised how many times, like at the gym, you see a chick, oh, she's kind of attractive. And then you give it just a couple of minutes, and the juggernaut of the frickin' boyfriend or husband shows up, which the only reason that that's undesirable is that if the guy is like prone to being a spurg, which some of them are, if they think that they have to mate guard, it can get ugly. I've seen it happen before. So you have to, at times, use a bit of restraint. So the guy comes out of the side frame and he's at least 5'10", but he was like a legit chatterlite. He was a good looking dude. And he just puts up with it for a little bit. And then they left together. She probably banged his brains out afterwards because women tend to be that way. They go from being upset to being turned on. I don't know why, but I've experienced that many times with chicks. So looking at that and looking what bars are, you guys are gonna say, well, you have to go to the college towns more so. Maybe I'll do that one weekend. I'll go down to the college area and see if it's different. Maybe there are those lonely girls at the bar in the college areas. Or maybe it's the nightclub. That's the real key. You got to go dance at the nightclub. That's where all the women go. Maybe. But all I'm saying is that if I was a young man, like say 21, and I was all about the self-improvement, and I was like, I've learned game, and I'm going to go out and practice it, and I kept seeing this, I would be bored out of my mind. I mean, I'm so grateful to God that I have my intellectual copes, because I was literally just a wage slave trying to go out and meet people. I mean, it would be incredibly painful. Sure, you might have some friends, perhaps you make some friends at the bar, you play pool and you drink beer, but as far as that whole thing of, yeah, you just have to be confident, you're like, oh, this, but there's no one to be confident to. That's the sad truth. I mean, like I said, a lot of the people working there, the chicks, they have no communication ability for the most part. And then you go other places and there's just none of them there. But that's where you're supposed to get all the women. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're, oh, you're projecting. Let me know what you guys think. Are bars great places? And there's all these hot chicks just waiting to be talked to. I want to have your opinion because obviously many of you guys, you run a game, you're masters at it, and I need to learn from you.